Hi, I'm Rory Ramsden of ProLaunchManager.com, and my guest today is Michael Stelzner of Social Media Examiner, which he launched in October 2009 and which has now 80,000 subscribers, which is pretty good in 2 years. We're here to talk about Michael's new book, Launch, which tackles head-on the crisis in confidence and trust that every startup is faced with when wanting to quickly propel itself beyond the competition. To quote from the book, fewer than 1 in 3 people trust marketing messages, according to Edelman's digital survey. So, Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Rory, for having me.
Now, that's a pleasure. It's great that you've spared the time to talk to us today. Now, let's press on then. Within 2 weeks of its launch, Social Media Examiner joined the ranks of Technorati's top 100 small business blogs. That's an amazing impact. How did you do that? What was the strategy?
Well, what we did was we coupled outside experts with great content to kind of get things rocking and rolling. I recruited, in my particular niche, some of the big names that were in that world. Names like Jason Falls, who was the founder of Social Media Explorer, Mari Smith, who co-authored recently a book on Facebook marketing, Denise Wakeman from the Blog Squad, and Chris Garrett, who co-authored a book on ProBlogger. I knew that I was a nobody in that particular niche in the world of social media, so I knew I needed to work with the somebodies of that niche in order to be successful. And on our launch day, we timed it just before a major trade show, and I did live video broadcasts for 3 hours with all these experts where people could come on and actually interact with them live, and it was really very exciting. And we had all sorts of great content in the pipe, or so to speak, built. And when people first experienced Social Media Examiner, my hope was that they saw something that looked like, I must have missed this. You know, this looks like it's been around before. It overcame the "who are you" objection, because important people were part of it and because we had great content. So the key strategy was really just to get some outsiders involved in a very powerful way.
Okay, so you actually were even then living the elevator principle that you refer to in your book, along with
Yes.
which basically is the crux of the core principle in the book. You talk about caging marketing messages and engaging the power of people, and that's
Right.
just what you did, didn't?
Yeah, the elevation principle is a very simple formula. If you want to achieve rapid growth for your business, stop selling yourself and selling your products and services, and instead focus on serving people. And so many people in marketing have been taught that what we need to do is figure out how to persuade people to do something against their will. And what I say is we live in an age, a very social age, where it's very easy for people to essentially ignore you. There's lots of messages competing for the attention of your customers and your prospects. So if you can become a servant, if you can focus on giving people what they want in the form of content, for example, how-to information, expert interviews, that's a way to rapidly grow. And the elevation principle basically says great content plus other people minus marketing messages equal growth. Very, very simple formula, but it's very, very powerful in the way that it can attract people to your business.
Okay, so that's the attraction formula, if you like. But then how do you monetize that on the back end?
So when I launched Social Media Examiner, and anybody who's launching a business goes through this, okay, at what point do we want to start selling? And most businesses want to start selling almost immediately. And I talk about in the book, I take a story from Braveheart. You know, Mel Gibson was in that movie,
Yeah.
and he played William Wallace, and they were basically this small army up against this big army, and all these people were rushing towards on these big horses, and he kept telling his people, hold now. And so many of us we want the sale so much that we instead just go for it. And the problem is that when we over-market, nobody wants to be part of what we're doing. So in the case of Social Media Examiner, I made a goal of waiting until we had at least 10,000 subscribers in our daily email blast that went out on our website at socialmediaexaminer.com. And then at that point, I slowly began marketing. But even when I did market, instead of selling products and services, I promoted things that were free. So, for example, at Social Media Examiner, we make all our money on events. So instead of saying, come to our great event, I would say, here's a little bit about our event and go here for a free class. Or, for example, I'm advertising my book right now. And instead of saying, go buy my book, I say, click here to get a free chapter. So instead, what I'm doing is promoting something that's free. When you advertise something that is free, most people don't perceive it as advertising. So you can kind of overcome the typical objections that people have to marketing. And that's been kind of the way that we've done it. And we made $1.7 million, Rory, in our first year of operation.
That's amazing. That's a testament to the power of the strategy. But just to go back, when you were writing white papers, how did you actually identify the market, the social media market, as one to attack?
Right.
Because there were actually people in that market already doing a pretty good job. How did you actually decide to go there?
Well, I was kind of coined the king of white papers by a lot of my peers, and I was making great money, and it was a very successful business. But I saw that a lot of people that I respected were talking about this new thing called Twitter and this new thing called Facebook, and they were discussing how it was kind of a new way to get connected to consumers. And I took a close look around, and I saw that there were literally thousands of bloggers already participating in this space. Now, I could have just said, all right, forget it, there's already people there. But instead what I did was I took that as market justification. I saw that there were a lot of other businesses there, but one thing that I saw that they were all lacking was a magazine style of content. There wasn't a blogger or a website that was bringing really valuable, rich content. What I mean by rich is like 1,000 words or longer how-to articles to the marketing world. So because I was pretty well known in the white paper world, and because I knew a lot of marketers and I knew a lot of writers, I started making phone calls to my friends who were great writers, like Casey Hibbert, who wrote the book on case studies. And I said, Casey, will you write one case study a month for me on social media? The benefit to you is that you'll get big exposure. And then I went out to my friends who were marketers who were dabbling in social media, and I said, would you be willing to write an article a month? And all together, we had this powerful force overnight. And having all that together is what allowed us to get on that Technorati list so quickly and allowed us to grow so rapidly. And now we're the #2 social media blog in the world, next to Mashable.
That's that's an amazing achievement inside 2 years. So,
absolutely.
Would you call that content, the content you've just been referring to, as primary fuel rather than nuclear fuel?
Yeah, there's two different kinds of content. If you think of your business like a rocket ship, and I've got a little visual right here. If you think of your business like a rocket ship, primary fuel is the stuff that moves you every single day. It's like gas in your car. It lasts about 72 hours. You need to fill your tank up. Primary fuel is on your website are things like the how-to articles and the expert interviews, and they have about a 72-hour shelf life, so you have to keep producing those. That gives someone a reason to come back time and time again. Nuclear fuel are things like reports that are based on surveys that you just give away for free. They allow you to go super fast, super far. They have a much longer tail. Contests are another example. I'll give you a quick example. We were only a couple months old, and we launched the Top 10 Social Media Blogs contest, where we asked famous bloggers, people in my world, like David, David Merman Scott, who wrote a book on marketing, Ann Hanley from Marketing Profs, and Scott Monty from Ford Motor Company to be judges. Then we asked people to make nominations, and we went through this long process, and then we awarded the top 10 blogs. We gave them badges. They stuck them up on their website. All these high-profile bloggers were excited that they won this contest and linking back to us, and that got our attention in their mind, and that was kind of a key form of nuclear fuel we used very early on to kind of get a lot of exposure.
So, I mean, you mentioned contests in a recent blog post that you made on Social Media Examiner as one of the 8 or 9 ways to launch a book using social media. And I mean, you're, if you like, in the fortunate position over a number of years having built up some heavy-duty contacts. But to somebody just listening who doesn't have those sorts of heavy-duty contacts, what would you recommend they do if they wanted to go down that route and set up a contest?
Okay, so it's a wonderful question, Rory. And what it really comes down to is you have to ask yourself, in my world, who, first of all, who are the people that are the movers and shakers that have access to the audience that I'm interested in? That's the first thing. Oftentimes, these are people that have written books. Sometimes these are people that are speaking at trade shows. Other times, they're popular bloggers who have a lot of following. Figure out who those people are first. Secondly, ask yourself, what can I do for them? How can I help them? If they have a book, why don't I just write a book review and not even tell them? And just, after I've written the book review, maybe on Twitter, go out to them and say, hey, I wrote a book review on you, and really make it a great book review. They're going to love that because you're giving them a gift. Figure out a way to service those people. And, every marketplace has these people. And frankly, in the world of social media, I was really a nobody. I had to figure out how to get all these people that were somebodies in this world to pay attention to me. And it really came down to giving them my platform, shining a spotlight on them. A lot of these people love to be interviewed, just like you're interviewing me right now. So why not reach out and offer to interview these people? But the key to everything is you have to figure out what they want and then give it to them, but do not ask for anything in return. Continue to lavish them with value. And eventually they're going to say, wow, thank you so much. And that will open up a door of opportunity for some of them upon which you can build a relationship and perhaps have them help you in some promotions down the road.
Okay, so it's really a question of you pushing the free line, if you like, or moving the free line to help those people get what they want. But at the same time, from a small startup's point of view, how do they, or an entrepreneur's point of view, how would be the best way, using social media perhaps, to actually identify the core desires in the people in their marketplace?
Well, a survey is the easiest way to do it. And you can go to surveymonkey.com and set up a survey for next to nothing. And what you can do is basically... like this is what Social Media Examiner did in the beginning. We launched what we called the Social Media Marketing Industry Survey. And we reached out to some people and we said, would you mind retweeting this? And it simply said, please take the Social Media Marketing Industry Survey. Here's the link. Participants get a free copy. And in that survey, you ask questions like, for example, what's the biggest problem that you have today? Open-ended questions, whatever kind of intelligence will help your business. But also ask a survey in such a way that you can generate a free report with it. So you can do a double whammy. You're going to get market intelligence for yourself, but you're also going to give market intelligence to the entire community by delivering a report in the final form. And it's just a wonderful way to have have that intelligence for yourself, but also give back to the community. Before you know it, like in our case, Wall Street Journal, Fast Company, and a number of other publications were writing about our survey, even though we were a nobody. And that brought in more opportunity, and these kind of things all build upon each other and really can take off rather rapidly.
So it's a question of really of pushing the snowball off the top of the hill, and one connection makes another connection, makes another connection. And
the key is to have somebody, the key is to have somebody to help. Mm-hmm. So everybody has somebody in their network that is got more influence than we do. You understand what I mean by like Roy, you know somebody in your niche that's got a bigger influence than you do. And all it takes is one or two of these people to kind of help you bridge those connections. In my case, Jason Falls was absolutely instrumental in helping me get a speaking gig at a major trade show. And while I was there, I brought a camera crew with me, and I videotaped like 20 of the top guys in my industry. And these guys went nuts over the interviews, and that kind of started the process of developing those relationships. So these little things can have like a compound effect, but you do need help from someone else to get it started.
Okay, so do you think now, or do you feel that there's a paradigm shift going on in the marketing world on the internet, where it could have been described a few years ago as sleazy, that there was like snake oil salesmen selling whatever and making big promises and not delivering? Do you think that now there is a paradigm shift changing, perhaps because of the FTC, to actually move the whole ethos and the principle of of marketing on the internet to a better place?
Absolutely, there's a paradigm shift, Rory. Every time a new technology comes out, it's kind of like when a hurricane hits. You know, you have these people that come in and offer to rebuild your house for next to nothing, and then you learn later that they were scamsters. When Twitter first came out, it was all about paying to have all these people basically follow you, you know, and it was all about gaming the system. The paradigm shift now is that there are so many everyday people like you and me who are actively participating on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Google Plus, that these people will not hesitate to let the world know when they see a scamster or a huckster. And you know, the digital footprint is forever. A tweet is always there. You can always find it on Google. So everybody now is realizing that they have to be a little bit more responsible. And a lot of people are seeing these snake sales people as what they are. You know, I talk about in my book how the I wrote this book for those that are frustrated with the undelivered promise of marketers. There are so many people out there, Rory, that are selling hope. And they're making all their money by having people buy into this hope that is truly unachievable. And a lot of these people have never really achieved it on their own. The only reason they're successful is because they're selling hope. I believe that there's a new emergence of everyday people that are sharing everyday tips and tactics and becoming overnight sensations because they don't have to be relying on the middleman anymore. So there's absolutely a paradigm shift. Every business needs to realize that it's absolutely essential that they figure out how to, you know, leverage social media to grow their business, how they can stop trying to convert people. We've been told that if we get into the boat, by the way, this is like a couple years ago, right? All marketers were trained that if you crawl into the boat and you quietly paddle out onto the lake and you pull out your very expensive fishing rod and you put your special lure on there and you jiggle it just the right way, you can force people into your boat. You can force them to do something against their will using the rule of reciprocity and all these other kinds of marketing techniques that are, you know, have been recently disclosed. And I say baloney. I say be authentic, help people. You know, we're almost going back, Rory, to the way it used to be before the internet. Relationships now are absolutely essential because nobody trusts businesses anymore. So the marketing paradigm shift is a backward shift to building relationships and actually being helpful to people.
Exactly. And I mean, if you buy the most expensive fishing rod on the planet and the best lure, it won't do you any good if you're not fishing where the fish are. So you have to know your market very well, and you have to know what really their desires and their hopes are before you'll actually be able to, if you like, identify with them. But you mentioned,
wouldn't you rather have the fish jump into your boat than have you pull them in against their will? By the way, because that's what I talk about in the book. You can create it so that people will literally want to jump inside your boat and be there with you, instead of having to force people, you know, to make impulsive decisions that are based on emotions. But anyways, go ahead.
But that's true. But people buy things and they make emotional decisions. We are primarily emotional animals, and the logistics just kick in later. So yes, if you're fishing in the right place, it doesn't really matter whether you've got an expensive lure or just a simple bent pin. And you can identify with those people, then, or those fish, then they will jump into your boat. But you mentioned a few minutes ago Google Plus, which has been all over the internet for the last few days. Unfortunately, here in Europe, I haven't been able to get hold of a Google Plus account yet. But what's your reaction to that? Is it just another big shiny object, or is it really going to get some traction?
Unfortunately, I think it's just another big shiny object. I think it will get attention because it's Google, and because Google has so many different platforms that they own. And because Google has been smart about integrating it into Gmail and all the other Google services that people use, it will get some traction. But it's not going to hurt Facebook. When you have nearly 700 million people on Facebook that love it and spending an enormous amount of time on it, I don't see people managing a second account overnight. But I can assure you this, Rory, there is going to be a lot of people, you mark my words, in the next couple months that are going to be selling products and services that
Yeah.
get you to believe that Google Plus is the next biggest
Big
thing in the
thing.
world. Yeah. The future is hard to tell. I think if Google Plus can figure out how to integrate with Facebook and Twitter and kind of embrace them rather than compete against them, I think it does have promise. But all it takes for Facebook to compete directly against Google is to just do a couple updates and have some user interface changes, and all of a sudden they can do exactly what Google Plus can do, and then people will say, well, why in the world should I go on Google Plus when there's so many people on Facebook?
Exactly. And if you're a small business startup, you don't want to spend, you haven't got too much time to spend on social media. So you have to focus your marketing efforts on the big players and make sure that those big players are the ones where your market gathers, and that's where you will get the best traction. But just to update that a little bit further, Google have that Google Talk, and now Facebook have brought in today. They've made this announcement with a
For
tie-up
Skype.
on Skype. So
Right.
this is, really a defensive measure, or really going to make a difference?
Well, because Microsoft is purchasing Skype and because Microsoft has an equity position in Facebook, I've got a feeling this was always in the works.
Mm,
And they probably just accelerated things a little bit in order to get a little bit of attention off of Google and back onto Facebook.
mm.
But the moral of all this craziness that's going on right now, Rory, is that we need to own our own destination, and that's where blogs come in. And this is why it doesn't really matter whether today it's Facebook and tomorrow it's Google Plus. At the end of the day, if you own the land, you own the real estate, which you can with a blog, you'll never have to worry about what the hot social network is, because they're always extendable and they can always plug into whatever you have. So the moral of the story for a small business owner getting started is to start with a blog, then go to Facebook, and then maybe start expanding into trying Twitter, and then maybe LinkedIn, and whatever else happens to be the flavor of the day.
Okay, good. So thank you very much, Michael, for your time today. It's great that you've taken some time to talk to me about this. I much appreciate your generosity in doing that. But just before you go, can you give me 3 big takeaways that people who are listening, who are struggling with social media, should actually go away and do now?
First and foremost, you gotta focus on having a content strategy rather than an advertising strategy. It has to do with figuring out what your audience is really interested in and creating outstanding content that they love and that they want to share. Secondly, you have to identify experts in your industry that you can figure out how you can help. Some of those people will float to the top and develop into strong strategic alliances. The third thing is you've got to resist the temptation to begin selling and marketing until you feel like you've reached critical mass for your business. That's the core essence of what I talk about in the book, Launch. And I also want to mention briefly, Rory, that I have a free chapter available at elevationprinciple.com if folks want to go there. No registration required. And they can check it out and learn quite a bit, at least from the free chapter, and help them get started.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. That's great. So that's elevationprinciple.com. Get your free chapter of Michael's new book, Launch: How to Propel Your Business Past the Competition in Double Quick Time. Thank you, Michael, and I hope we speak again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.